Hello and welcome back to UIInsight. I'm Stephen Chalmers, and today I would like to talk about a recent file list control in Photoshop. So let's take a look at the dialog in Photoshop that I'm referring to. So here we are in a dialog for Photoshop preferences, and down there at the bottom is recent file list contains 10 files. Let me zoom in on that. So it's just a simple edit box. It's saying type in a number, and that will be the number of files you want to see in your recent file list. So when you go back into the application, you say, I worked on that about a week ago. It should be in my recent files. I want to be able to find it there. Personally, I love to enter a huge number there. I want to enter 99. I think it's a great way for me to find work that I have done recently. So I click on the 10 and I type in 99 and I get an error message. And that's really what we're talking about today, is this error message. Let me zoom in on that. It's telling me that an integer value between 0 and 30 is required and the closest value is inserted. Now, Alan Cooper in About Face, great book, highly recommend it, says error messages stop the proceedings with idiocy. And this is idiocy because in that dialog, when I typed in, it said 10 and I typed in 99, there was no indication there that 99 was invalid. And that's really the problem. This error message could have been avoided if I knew as a user when I was typing in that value that I had to choose from 0 to 30, that I couldn't choose something larger than that. So that's what we need to address. Let's take a look at a solution for that. One good thing I will say about the way Photoshop handles this error is even though I put in 99 and it's telling me 0 to 30 is the range that's possible, at least it does put in 30, and you can see that down there that it has selected 30. So I typed in 99, told me that was too big a number, but it did at least put in the right maximum value, so you've got to give it some credit there. So we want to avoid error messages, but we want to let the user select a value for the number of files in the recent file list. So how do we go about doing that? Let's look at one solution. I propose a slider control would work perfectly in this situation. So at a glance, the user can see my recent file list contains 10 files. Currently it says that in text, and it also has a pointer in this slider control pointing to 10. And clearly, anybody can see that the allowable range, if you will, is 0 to 30. Nobody is ever going to get an error message. They're never going to enter an error condition with this slider because all you can do is slide it between 0 and 30 anywhere you want. So the beauty of this control is it still allows the user to change the value just like the text box did in the original application. But here, nobody's ever going to get an error message, and that's really the beauty of this design. We could also go with radio buttons. This is probably a great solution too, because it's fairly unlikely that people are going to want to change their number of recent files to some odd value like 17 or 23 or 9 or something like that. So these discrete choices here are probably fine. But again, for some reason, I just think that the slider control works really well here. I love it because it solves the problem. You're never going to get an error message. So in summary, the idea is to help the user avoid mistakes. Rather than giving them a text box and say, enter a number of recent files that you want to see, the number of recent files you want to see in a list, go ahead and enter a number, and then let the user enter a number, and then only to tell them, well, that's too big a number. We want to avoid that. And this slider control does that perfectly. Well, I hope you enjoyed this segment from UIInsight. Again, my name is Stephen. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. My email address is stephen@uiinsight.com. Thanks so much.